All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And again, once I want to thank David as well as Anka for inviting me back again for another episode of How to Analyze the Market. Due to the fact that we don't have that much time, let me just jump right in. So right now, one of the things I wanted to touch on is market timing and cycles, market timing and cycles. And in particular, one of the comments that I usually make is this is a quote of mine that most people think of timing the market as picking tops and bottoms. And I usually say that's typically not the way I like to look at the market. So I don't see it that way. The way I see timing the market is being aware of certain events and staying on the right side of the market during those events. And one event that we know for sure is about to start taking place is the what? Is the election. And so what I wanted to show you is just in case you haven't paid attention to how the market moves or what might take place during the election or after the election specifically, I wanted to show you guys that because this is what we are geared for. You know, we talking about literally next week. By this time next week, the election will be going on. By this time next week, at nighttime, we'll have an idea of who might be elected as the president, and you know, knowing how to take advantage of what the market is going to bring is something that we have been anticipating, waiting for, and I want to show you guys just a little bit about that. I do see some stocks over here, ALSN as well as MNMD. We will take a look at those two as well. Also, I was listening on the calls and I saw somebody talking about Burlington Coat Factory. I'll show you some stuff that I also see here on Burlington Coat Factory, and then depending on time, we'll look at much of the other stocks. But very quickly, here's what I want to show you guys. Okay, so this is last year, and because of the fact that we have, whether we're going to have a Republican in the presidency or whether we're going to have a Democrat, we don't know the answer to that yet. However, one thing is for sure. When last year, when Biden became president, the election day was somewhere around here. I want you guys to notice something about how the market did what it did, bottomed up, and then we started rallying after the election. In particular, the strategy that we are planning on implementing is a strategy where we want to take advantage of the first week after the election. And then also we want to take advantage of what happens after that. So we want to see how the market is going to perform for the rest of the year. So it's a two-part situation that we're looking at is what happens the week after the election, and then what happens 2 months after election. That how does the market behave going into the rest of the year? And I'm only going to show you the last two elections simply because 2016 we had a Republican, 2020 we had a Democrat. So in the event that we have one of these two, which is the only option probably that we're going to get, we'll kind of have a way to anticipate that. So let me go back to 2016 when Trump became president. And here is this situation here. Again, this day right here, November 8th, was when the election happened. I want you guys to notice something again. Friday before the election, market bottomed out, right? And then it started heading higher. And then that first 2 weeks, we see this take place. And then what happens for the rest of the year, we see that the market continues to go higher. So again, that is the first, I don't want to say strategy, but the first pattern that we're looking at and say, okay, we want to take advantage of two different types of pattern, and we can trade this any kind of way. We could either buy stocks or buy options that would last us to the rest of the year, or we can try to take advantage of what happens first in the first 2 weeks and then come back and take advantage of what's going to happen later on down the road. All right. So that's kind of like what we want to touch on. In addition to that, it's time to take a look at what type of stocks to pay attention to. But before I go any further, this is my pitch to you guys. I am going to be having a webinar. I do this with my subscribers at 8 o'clock on Monday nights. I am inviting anybody who chooses to come join us absolutely at no cost. You can come join us that Monday night. It's going to be at 8 o'clock. We are going to be doing a pre-election market analysis because the market would have already been closed for Monday. The very next day would be the election day. And so I'm going to go into more details simply because we don't have enough time to go into details about what stocks to pay attention to, which ones, and how we plan on trading it. But that's what we're going to be doing on Monday night. Okay. So if you go to this link right here, rightside.trading.com/election, again, no cost whatsoever. Because my whole thing is, look, this election, there's going to be a lot of money that we can be making. And I want to invite anybody who's interested, just come join us 8 p.m. I'm sorry, 8 p.m. Monday night. Hopefully my subscribers don't get mad that I'm letting a bunch of people in for free, but I'll have a conversation with them. But come join us. Come join us. Come watch how we prepare for the very next day, so that way, if it's something that you can learn from and use, by all means, go for it. And if you come in and you realize, okay, yeah, this is not anything that is useful to you, then no harm, no foul. You can move on. But you do have to come in at 8 o'clock next week, Monday, where we'll be doing our analysis after the market is closed in preparation for the very next day. Okay, so that's my pitch. If you want to, just join us there. David, thank you so much for putting up the link on the chat box. Join us there, completely free. You don't have to pay anything. Just come watch us and join us and see how this works. All right. Okay, that being said, going back over here, we said, look, there are markets that are going to be that we can take advantage of. The problem that a lot of people have is not knowing which ones to jump into and which ones not to jump into. So here's one thing that a lot of people might or might not know about what happens after the election. One of the most lucrative sectors of the elections, or any elections, is the financial sector. Okay, the financial sector. Please keep note of that. And we could pick any one of these: Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, any one of this. And again, this is what we're going to be going over on Monday night. But let me show you how an idea of why this is so important and kind of see what goes on. So here is, let me go here to Bank of America. So we go here to Bank of America. This was last year's election, the last election, which was in 2020 when Biden became president. I want you to pay attention that, again, a lot of people worry about if one person becomes president, could it affect the market going up? Could it affect the market going down? I'm under that notion that, it doesn't really matter who the president is. The idea is that certain sectors would do well based on whoever becomes president. So if you guys recall, when Trump was running for 2020 election, one of the things he said, oh, if he doesn't get selected, the market is going to crash, But then we see here that, yes, he did not get elected. However, what did the market do? The market did extremely well. So the question becomes, all right, first, how do we select the right type of stocks? Two, how do we trade this? And like I said, we have a 2-week situation and we have a 2-month situation that we can look at, but we got to make sure that we're in the right type of stocks and making sure that those stocks are ready to go. So let me just show you this real quickly. If we were to look at the 2-week situation on Bank of America, all right, we're just talking about 2 weeks. So the election was on November 3rd of 2020. I'm just going to go back in time and just show you what we can see happen. So if we were doing this in 2020, right? So we go November of 2020, November 3rd. So let's even start the day after, not even the day of the election. Let's go the day after election. So we'll go November 4th. So by this point, we already know who was elected president at that point, right? So if we were to go over here, November 4th, we have a 2-week or a 2-month type of trade. In the event that we do the 2-week trade, here is what I suggest is just find the option that expires at the end in November. Okay, that will bring us to that 2 weeks. Does that make sense? And then we have a choice. We could either pick at the money options. In this case, we had let me write this down, 24.50 strike, all right? And that 24.50 strike was going for $1.14. You guys seen this? Or we can do one strike out of the money, right? And that's the way we like to do it. So $25, the $25 strike, that was going for 88 cents. So far, so good. And all we did was just try to focus on the 2 weeks type of trades that we're trying to take advantage of, all right? So that happens. So now let's fast forward 2 weeks later, which again, it expires on the 20th, right? So 2 weeks later, we get into this, a little bit over 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 2 days. We go over here and then let's see how this played out. So now we go over here, let's see, where is the 24.50 strike price, right? So this 24.50 strike price, this is what we're looking at, 24.50 strike price. It is now going for $2.45 in 2 weeks. The $25 strike price that we picked is going for 88. That was going for 88 cents, which is 25 right here, is now going for about $1.93. All right. Now let me bring out my trusty handy dandy calculator just to kind of see what are we talking about here as far as return on our investment. you would have spent $88 to produce $193 in 2 weeks. So we take 193 minus $88. That would give us a profit of $105 on our $88 that we invested. You take that and you divide that by your initial investment of $88 minus fees and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about 119% return in that 1 week or that 2-week period of time. Does that make sense? And that's all we're looking at is like just a 2-week period of time, be done with. Walk away, double our money or more. Okay. So if we look at that and then we say on the other one, I just erased everything. I was not supposed to erase that. But again, we were looking at the 24.50. We bought that at what, $1.15, we said. And so we take 245. So go over here, 245 minus $1.15. All right. We talk about 130 divided by our 115, and we're talking about 113%. So again, roughly speaking, we're just talking about a 2-week period whereby, again, no longer than this period of time right here. And this was just last year, okay? And so now let's talk about like, hey, what about we do the January one? So rather than ending in December, let's see if we can go out into January and see what type of returns are we going to get. So again, if we got in the day after the election, so we'll come over here and go back here to the day after the election, which was on the 4th. But this time, instead of 2 weeks, we chose to go to the one that expires in January. So we'll go here to January 15, which is this right here. All right. So same situation at the money call options. So we're talking about the $24 strike would have cost us $206 to invest in this. And then the $25 strike would have cost us how much? $150 to get involved into this. Okay, fine. Now, let's fast forward to January. Now, depending on when we decide to get out in January, but we'll just go to the end of January. Chances are we'll probably manage this, get out before the end of January in this particular case because it's more of a longer term. But let's just go to the end of January, January 15th. All right, so January 15th is when this option expires. So let's go here. And then we're going back to the $24 and $25 strike. So this time we'll go here. Where is the $24 strike? The $24 strike now is traded. This is a $24 strike. We can sell that now for $995. $995. And then the $25 strike that we bought, we can sell that for $895. So once again, we'll bring out our handy dandy calculator and say, if we invested $206 and we profited, we sold it for $995 minus your $206, that would give you a profit of $789. Divide that by your original cost of $206, again, minus fees and everything. We're talking about an average of 380%. All right. And that was for the at the money strike. Okay. Now, if we go one strike out of the money, then we're doing the calculations all over again. So we go $895 minus our $150 that we invested. Okay, that's 745. Divide that by 150 that we invested, and we're looking at about 496% return, or 490% return minus expenses or whatever it might be, minus the fees, I should say, that we might incur is what we're looking at. All right, and so this is why, like I said, I'm super excited about situations like this. I'm looking forward to this being something that we have to get ourselves involved in. And again, that was just 2020. Let me just do one more. If we were to go back, let me show you this. If we were to go back to 2016, when the election happened in 2016, this is 2016 right here. Same scenario, right? Now the Republicans won. The day after the election was November 9th. Market even gapped up on that day, right? But notice how we went up. And so let's say we went all the way to the end of January, or at least when the January expiration expired, or we go 2 weeks out. So let's try that again. This time we go into 2016 and then we'll move on from there. So here's 2016. Let's go November 2016. And we bought the day after the election, which is November 9th, right? So November 9th after was what we're looking at. We are buying the one that would expire in November, the option that expires in November. At the money options is all we're looking at, and one strike out of the money. So at the options money in this case was a $16.50, and we got this for 66 cents. So the $16.50 strike we got it for $66. And then the $17 strike, we got that for 31 bucks. And that's what we doing, right? So now 2 weeks later, when this expires on the 18th, right? We come over here, we look at our 1650 strike. Where's our 1650 strike? Give me a second. So we go down here. Here is our 1650 strike right there. Okay. So now our 1650 strike right here is going for $355. So we invested 66 bucks. 2 weeks later, we walk away with 355. Our $17 strike that we bought for $31 is now going for $305. Now, what's the difference on that? One more time, we come over here, we say 335 minus the $66 we invested results in $269 in profit divided by our original cost. We're talking about 407%. 407% or 400% return on your money in 2 weeks, all because of this event that took place. The second one, like I said, is now we take let's take $305 that we made minus our original investment of 31 bucks. That gives us a profit of 274 divided by our $31. And we're talking about 883%. So 800%. Let's just call it 800% in that 2 week period. You guys seen this? And so this is kind of like one of the things that why I'm super excited about this is like, okay, let's see it repeat itself again and see whether that is what we're going to get. But the interesting thing is noticing what tends to happen after this. And again, this is just Bank of America. We can pick any other stock, JP Morgan. We can pick, Citigroup, like I had on the list. You'll see, notice how these stocks tend to do really well. So this is why I say financials are one of the best kept secrets after the election. Here's the financials after the election. Now compare this to, say, Apple, for instance. Just want you guys to see, because a lot of times people say, oh yeah, technology. So now Apple did go up, but if you notice that first week after election, it wasn't as excited, right? I mean, look at this right here. Now, don't get me wrong, by the end of the year, things had done well on Apple, don't get me wrong, right? Which again is part of the strategy. But that first 2 weeks, you could have still made money, don't get me wrong, but it's not. I mean, take a look at that and then take a look at, Bank of America and see how those ones moved, right? And that's kind of like just slight difference between whether we get involved in one type of stock or we get involved in another kind of stock. And again, like I said, on Monday night, this is what I am going to be going into, details about, okay? There's so many different examples that I can go into, but again, like I said, we don't have that much time today. I would love to make sure that I can share that with you guys. So that's why I'm inviting you guys to come in for free Monday night. Come join us, come watch and see which stocks we're going to be focusing on and why we're focusing on those stocks. All right. Okay. That being said, let me go to answering some of the questions as far as like the type of stocks that you guys are trying to take a look at. One of the stocks that I saw here, like I said, was this Burlington one. Let me show you guys this. By the way, these are other ones, renewable energies, and they play a different role. Healthcare, just so you guys know, healthcare and renewable energies. Let me just share this with you because this is important. Let me just show. Okay, so I'm gonna show you some healthcare ones. So like NEE, for instance. Okay, let me just show you guys this real quickly. This is why it's important that you understand which ones you pick. Now, notice how NEE, energy stocks, right, in 2020, they didn't do as well. I mean, they went up, but then net, they didn't do well. If you'll notice, somewhere in December was when they started really taking off, which is very interesting, all right? And so this is why I said you have to understand what type of sectors do well and how do they respond on all that kind of stuff, which again, we'll be going into on Monday night. If you go to 2016, let me show you the same thing too. Notice that, hey, when Trump became president, notice what happened. The energy stocks actually went down at first. Okay, so after they went down, then again, sometime in December, then they start picking up. So if you don't understand this and you end up being in a stock that doesn't necessarily respond well to election behaviors and stuff like that, you might find yourself on the wrong side of the market. And which is why I said, it's about understanding certain events and making sure that we're on the right side of the event. So, financial stock did extremely well. Energy stock took about a month later before they could do well. And then on here, I showed you there's another one here, which is the healthcare stocks, and see what happens with healthcare stocks as well. Everybody does things differently. If you look at healthcare, here's Pfizer. What happens with Pfizer is that it went up, came back down, then it took off, but again, it was after the election, and a few days after the election before it really started kicking in, and then it collapsed. You go back here to 2016, you'll see the same thing too as well, all right? Where it went up, comes back down, then it goes up again. And so December for any renewable energy stocks was better, and they were more long term. Healthcare stocks, same thing happened to a lot of those healthcare stocks, where it's like they had that 1 day effect, okay, but then they fizzled out, and then eventually they came back, recovered some, and all that kind of stuff. So paying attention to what type of stocks is important to make sure that we're not in the wrong type of stocks going forward. All right, so let's go here to Burlington Coat Factory. This is one of the questions that was brought up. So let's go here. So while the person was talking, I just kind of like looked this because I didn't have Burlington Coat Factory, quite frankly, as one of my stocks that I chose to get involved in. But you can see here, this is 2020 election. What happened is this was the election day right here. It did well, so even if we did the first 2 weeks, I think you would have done well in that first 2 weeks. But then notice that by the end of November, beginning of December, was another great opportunity to get involved in this. But one of the biggest things about Burlington Coat Factory elections or no elections, one of the cool things about Burlington Coat Factory is that it does well during the winter and the holiday season. All right, so you'll see how this did well from November up until January, because I think the person was asking, hey, what do you think about Burlington Coat Factory going into January? You'll see that this is what we see here. I can go back here to 2016 as well. You'll see that it did okay. It did extremely well in the beginning, right? And then it fills it out. But net, if you bought over here and you waited to the end of somewhere definitely end of December, which would take you to the end of the year, you would have done fine. But even till somewhere in January, net you would have done well. But the key is, like, you have to have been involved in this prior to the election, okay, or at least right when the election takes place. I'm gonna show you guys this as well. This is my platform that I use to kind of help me analyze too as well. I have a seasonality chart on Burlington Coat Factory, and you'll see that this is what the historical data shows us, that what typically happens with Burlington Coat Factory over the holiday season. So right now, this is November, as you can see here, and then at the peak right here, this is somewhere in January. So, and then usually I'll click on this future seasonality scan, and this green sidebar right here lets me know that, hey, one of the most consistent rallies will be taking place around that time. All right, so that's just something to pay attention to. I follow a lot of seasonality. I like to see repeatable patterns, so much so that if I can't determine what the patterns are, I'm not necessarily interested in a stock like that. Okay, so somebody asked about MN. Let me see here. MNMD. Mind Medicine. Mind Med is what the company is. Okay, so first things I always like to look at is what's the pattern here? Do we have it seems like this company hasn't been in existence for too long, because I don't have that much data right here. I can see it's only one out of the last 10 years. So is this a brand new company? It must be something, or let me just check this. What's the stock? MNMD. What's this? So it's actually not brand new. I just don't have enough data on that one. Okay, so first things first is, this is a stock that, again, has been going down. What I like to see is, what are the historical patterns around November through December? So if we go here, this is November through the end of December. This is a stock that goes up, goes down, but net, would you say that this is a stock that makes money? I would say yes. So then if I go over here, November right here to December right here, wasn't really doing much over there. That was a flat situation there. We go over here, November here to December here, it went down. So not a stock that has a lot of predictable pattern, because one year it went down, the other year was flat, the other year was up. Usually when I see something like that, it makes me wonder and say, hey, maybe I should just not worry about that, right? Here we go again. 1 year did extremely well, and I think those are the 3 years that we have on this one. So In the last 4 years, this stock has been in existence. 2 years it did extremely well. 1 year did not do so well. And then the last year, or 1 year, it went sideways. Based off of that, my thinking would be, okay, now let's wait and see. If after the election things works out well, that would be something I won't mind getting involved in, because you can see that this stock is beginning to go up, not necessarily down, right? We had reversal signals here, went up, pulled back, seems like it's trying to go higher again. So definitely after the election, if this thing stays to go on higher, my anticipation will be that it will do well for the rest of the year. We have MDGL. Here's another stock, okay? MDGL, another stock that has come down. What did it do in November through December? Did pretty good right there. All right, let's see. November through December. Did pretty good over there. Let's go back over here. November through December, not so well. And then let's try one more, and we'll go November here through December here, not so well. Okay, so the deciding factor would be what? What should we be paying attention to? Well, we're here now, and the question is it going to be going higher? Here's what I would say. If we can clear this level here without a question, all right, let me do this right here. If I was trading this would be the level I watch. And I don't mind waiting to after the election just to be on the safe side. But if this stock can clear this level here, then chances are we'll probably do so well. We'll do well in that, right? One more or two more, actually. ALSN. Let me not forget the person. This is actually the first person that actually put something in. I like this stock already just simply because it's been going higher and higher and higher for years to come, all right? November. Oops. And I'm almost out of time, so please forgive me. There's Russia in November through December. We see this did really well. Let's go back to the previous November to December. November through December did really well. I like that. 2 for 2. Let's go back here again. November through December, 3 for 3. I like that a lot. Go back again. November through December, 4 for 4. One more. Because to me, if that's the case, let's go back. Let's see if we can cross our fingers, see if we can get something good out of this. Let's go here. November through December was, what would you call this? I want to say, what's the word I'm looking up for? Flat. Okay, I mean, you broke even. Okay, you broke even. I am definitely okay with a stock like this one. I would be anticipating, all right, I got 2 minutes left. I would be expecting that this is going to go higher. Okay. Last one, AMD, and then I'll call it a day. But again, guys, remember, you come and watch us live on Monday night. So please make sure you go to the link that David provided, just to make sure that you don't miss out. Here was November, right here, to December. AMD did pretty well last year. November through December, it did well, then pulled back. We have November through December, did pretty well. 2 more. November through December did well. And then last one, November through December. They all did well in the last 5 years. This would be something that I'll say, okay, yeah, let's add this to our list. And so again, we'll talk more about this on Monday night, where we start going into more analysis, because again, the election is here. I mean, we talk about next week, we'll be facing an event that everybody around the globe is going to be watching, and it is going to affect the market whether you like it or not. So let's make sure that we take advantage of it. But again, just join us live on Monday night and come see what we are doing. So here's the link right here. Again, thank you so much, David, for having me on call. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks, Wally.